Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald is the latest film in the new Fantastic Beasts 5-part film series, which is part of the Harry Potter universe. I'm a fan of the Harry Potter universe simply because the films are so good. I own every single one of them on Blu-ray. And I'm not a fan of the universe because I know every piece of backstory off by heart, but I can still recognise basic Easter eggs within the series. And I was excited about this because the first Fantastic Beasts was a great start to what looked like a promising new Harry Potter series. Sadly, this is probably my least favourite Potter film so far, and despite J.K. Rowling's brilliantly written books, the big problem with the film is J.K. Rowling's script. It's all over the place. There are about 7 different plot lines, 9 main characters, 4 romances. It's ridiculous, and the film never wants to focus on one plotline or settle down and focus on a set group of characters. It's just absolutely everywhere. The plot is completely aimless, and how the film thought it could cram so much stuff into the film is kind of stupid. The plot is completely aimless until the final act. The film is just people searching for others who they either love, need as evidence for a case, or have been hired to kill until the final act, and the film, while not being entirely focused during the final act, starts to focus in a bit more. There were some really jarring edits, and at one point characters were in a sewer, and suddenly they were above ground fighting a beast. There was no flow between those two shots. It just, in the sewer, suddenly they're on top of the street. When I first saw that bit, I wasn't sure if my cinema had accidentally skipped out a minute of the film. And there were some other moments like that throughout the film, but that was the main one I can mention. Some of the twists in the film made no sense, and there was a scene at the beginning of the third act, in particular, that was really convoluted and took way too long to reveal what it wanted to. The film doesn't really earn its title either of The Crimes of Grindelwald, as Grindelwald hardly commits any crimes. He does 1 or 2 in the film, and that's not really enough to constitute that kind of title. And there were lots of lazy exposition scenes. One scene near the beginning was just characters literally sitting around a table and telling the audience everything they need to know. They might as well have just stared at the camera and gone, "Right, hello audience, here's what you need to know. Ready for the film to occur? Good." And my last con is that Grindelwald and Dumbledore are hardly in the film. Grindelwald has about 4 or 5 scenes outside of the final act, and Jude Law's Dumbledore, who I really liked, had about 4 scenes in total, and none of them were particularly long. And they were both so good in the film, it was just annoying that their characters were hardly in it. Now for my pros. Eddie Redmayne, Johnny Depp and Jude Law are all excellent in the film. Jude Law and Johnny Depp were perfectly cast as Grindelwald and Dumbledore. Why we couldn't spend more time with them, I don't know. I loved their characters. I thought Johnny Depp was brilliant as Grindelwald. Whilst the character wasn't particularly well written, it was Johnny Depp that elevated him much further, and whilst he still isn't anywhere near as good a villain as Voldemort, I still love Johnny Depp's portrayal of him. And the third act of the film was brilliant. It was thrilling, gripping, and so intense. I loved the third act, and whilst like the rest of the film it didn't remain very focused on anything, it was still really good, and it allowed Johnny Depp to really shine as Grindelwald, and I loved the third act. It was so intense. I was gripping my seat so much. I loved the third act. James Newton Howard's score is beautiful, and at one point I stopped watching the film for a few seconds and I just focused on the beautiful sounds coming out of the cinema speakers, partly because I was getting quite bored at points in the film, and that moment I just mentioned in particular was a moment where I did get bored. It was still a beautiful score. Lastly, the visual effects and the fantastic beasts of the film were amazing. The creatures looked real and they had their own individual personalities, and they had a really cuddly feel to them, and I loved them. And for some reason, a series called Fantastic Beasts, they're not really focused on. They're brilliant when the beasts are focused on, but they're not really in the film. So why call your series Fantastic Beasts? There are so many strange decisions like that. Make no sense to me. I'm going to give Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald a 5.5 out of 10. Again, the big problem really is J.K. Rowling's overstuffed script. I'm not sure how fans will react to this, as myself and another friend that I saw the film with thought it was alright, another friend didn't like it at all, and another didn't mind it. They thought it was actually kind of good. Now, spoilers ahead, you're not missing anything if you click off the video now. I'm going to give you a few seconds to click off the video, don't worry, you're not missing anything. Right, now for my spoilers. To exaggerate my point about J.K. Rowling's really muddled, unfocused, overstuffed script, I don't understand how Credence is a Dumbledore, because at the end of the film it is revealed that Credence is a member of the Dumbledore family. I don't understand that, as in Deathly Hallows Part 2, we're told that Albus Dumbledore had a sister who died, and that is mentioned in the film as well. We are told this through Albus's surviving brother, because at that point in the Harry Potter series, Albus Dumbledore is dead. So, unless Credence just isn't mentioned, or Credence is that last surviving brother in Deathly Hallows Part 2, J.K. Rowling's just gone and messed up her own storylines. It's not as though someone else has gone and messed up her stories. She's responsible for the way she's gone and messed up her storyline. So, yeah, I don't really understand why she made that decision. That's my more spoiler-filled thoughts on the film. I just needed to mention that point with spoilers, because otherwise I couldn't have made it and the point would have been too vague. That was my review of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, and I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.